Welcome to the Prime Life Project podcast, a place to help you unlock your full potential, both mentally and physically, to become the best version of you. Welcome back to an episode of the Prime Life Project podcast. I'm your host, Daniel James, and today I've got something very, very special and something a little different. For those of you that are long-term listeners to the podcast, you may have heard me drip feeding my coaching program, which is called the Ascend Coaching Program. And today I'm delighted to be having a conversation with a gentleman who is one of the founding members of this program. He has just graduated from the program, and I wanted to bring him on today to talk about some of the challenges that he was going through before he started the program, how the program's helped him, and any things that he could recommend to people that are thinking about doing something similar. So I'd like to welcome to the podcast, Andy McBride. Andy, how are we?
Oh, very well, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you very much. How does it feel to be on the other side of the podcast? Because I know that you listen to the podcast. How does it feel to now actually be on it?
Yeah, very, very bizarre, very surreal. So we'll see how it goes.
Oh, listen, I've got every faith in you, especially after the conversations that we have. Like I said, just us going off tangents, I know that we're going to add some real value to my audience today. But as I do with all my guests, but specifically with you today, can you sort of take us back to what kind of challenges and obstacles you were facing, both personally and professionally, before you actually joined the Ascend program?
Yeah, that's a pretty deep one. So I had I set up a business 4.5 years ago. Mortgage broking business. It was really, really successful. I'd set it up with I guess a friend, a guy that I've been working with for a number of years, and we had a one almighty fallout, and I won't go into all the details of why and what. But the culmination of that was me walking away from the business. Really successful business. I've got 5 kids, a wife, a mortgage, and overnight I lost pretty much everything: my income, my stability, my family's security, the future. And I was in uh, I'd done the typical man thing, I guess. So buried my head in the sand. Didn't really think about it for the first couple of weeks, and then it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. Didn't want to talk about it, so started drinking, and just made the situation worse and worse and worse. And I can remember the first time that I saw you. It was actually my wife Laura. She could see the downward spiral that I was in, and where I was going, and she'd seen it before, I guess, and knew exactly what was going to happen unless she intervened. And she actually asked me to go to it was mindset maintenance, which for me was a lot of woo woo, very, very fluffy. Let's go and talk about our feelings. It was completely the opposite of anything I'd ever done before. But do you know what? I was kind of in such a hole at that point that, and I could see how my actions and my mood and my behaviours and the impact it was having on her and having on the kids, that I kind of agreed just to appease her. If truth be told, I thought, I'll go and sit down for an hour and a half, and I'll grit my teeth and get through it, and that'll keep her happy for another week while I try and work out what I'm going to do next. And I can remember walking down. It's a local hotel to us. I remember walking in there, and it was a non-alcohol event, which I thought, Jesus, this is a great way to start. So I sat there with my water, and you know what? It changed my life. There were, and as you well know, there were a number of speakers there, and some of the stories were, they were horrific. Some of the things people had been through. It was around, just a lot of it was centered around men's mental health and the battles that they've been through, and I could kind of resonate with it, and some of the thoughts that people had. I'd had some pretty dark thoughts. Where do you go from this? How am I going to get back? What have I done to my family?
Because you were in a bad place, weren't you? Because we only really, bearing in mind how long we've been working together, it was only in the last couple of weeks that you really opened up and told me like how much of a bad place you were in. Because I knew that you, like you sort of mentioned here, like at the start of the episode, where you were like, I was in a bad place, but you were actually in a real bad place, weren't you?
Yeah. I can remember, without giving too much away, but I can remember that I would get up when it was all really, really kicking off in the days leading up to me walking away from the business. I can remember getting up for work at 6 in the morning and getting in the car at 6:30, and Laura would literally be on the phone to me 15 minutes later, making sure that I didn't pull up my car off the side and go and do something stupid. That's how worried she was about me. And I don't think I would have ever have done something like that, but I'd be lying if I said the thoughts hadn't entered my head, because at that point I couldn't see a way out. And we'll go on to it later, but I was catastrophizing the situation just constantly, and my life was being dictated by thoughts that I was having that weren't based on anything other than me thinking about it. There wasn't much fact behind it. Yes, the situation was shit, and it was going to have a massive impact, but that was really the only truth in everything else that I was thinking. So yeah, I was in a really, really dark place. But I think even before that, it's only now that we're where we are after all the work that we've done together that I look back and go, well, even when the times were really good, I wasn't in a great place because I couldn't handle, or I wasn't equipped to deal with the success that I had. So I didn't
Mm,
really enjoy it. Thought I was enjoying it, and I gave off this impression that I was enjoying it, but I don't think I really was. I think my whole outlook on things is very, very different now. Um, and I wish I could have, or I had that time again. I know I will moving forward, but I wish I would have dealt with some of the successes that I had very differently to how I did.
'cause we talk about a lot that you were. I think a lot of people can relate to this. That you're sort of living a lifestyle for other people, essentially. And again, through some of the work that we've done, some stuff that again, I say the work we've done, like you've done the work. I've just sort of
Mm.
set you on the path that you've kind of realised that we're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think we did an exercise at the very, very beginning when we got together, and you asked me, what was my why? What was the dream? What were the plans? What were the targets? What were the things that I was going after? Um, and for the first time, and I think this is the key, the work that we did, I because of where I'd been, I took so seriously. So instead of giving the first answer, I really got into trying to think about it and trying to understand it. And it was only then that I realized that I didn't know what I wanted. As you say, my whys and what I'd been striving for and what I'd been aiming for so long had been crafted by other people. It wasn't really what I wanted. Um, but I'd been stuck in that mindset for so long that I believed they were mine. I thought that was that goal that we were shooting for. I was convinced that was what I really, really wanted, but it wasn't. It wasn't.
Mm,
It been, you know, it been crafted over a number of years by people in my life that maybe didn't have the best intentions for me.
mm. We'll dive back into this because we'll really sort of go into the core things that you've learned throughout the
Mm,
journey. But I just wanted to sort of like link it back to that mindset maintenance event. And what was it that made you decide to actually enroll on the Ascend program? And when you decided to enroll on it,
yeah.
what were your initial expectations?
Um, so I think I said to you it was lucky we even started working together because I'd come off of social media about um, 3 or 4 months before going to the mindset maintenance. So I'd set up some rickety old Instagram account to contact you through. I had no photo, I had no followers, and I think even you, when it come through, thought, "Is this genuine or not?" Um, for me, I came away from that I'm a big believer that sometimes things just resonate with you, or people resonate with you, and they talk in a language that you really, really understand. So for me, it was a subject that I was really, really skeptical about, because I didn't understand. But you put it in when you spoke to the crowd, it kind of felt like it was speaking to me, because I got where you were coming from, and you put it into a way where I just understood what you were saying. And I can remember coming away, and saying to Laura, my wife, and bearing in mind our income had stopped, we had no money coming in, we weren't even sure how we were going to pay the mortgage at that point. And I said, you know what? I've got this real weird thing. I want to reach out to Dan and see if he does, because I didn't even know you did any real
Mm.
coaching program. But I said I want to kind of reach out and see if he offers anything, because I really think he could help me in terms of where I am with my headspace at the moment and what I want to do moving forwards. And I kind of expected Laura to turn around and say, "Well, you're mad. We've got no money. Why would you want to do that?" And she, to her credit, immediately went, "I think it's a great idea." And she had been, even when the business was doing really, really well, been pushing me to try and find someone that I could maybe spend some time with every couple of weeks, just to unload. Because when you're running a business, and I was running a business with 6, 7 people, and we were turning over over £1 million a year. There was a lot of stress that came with it, and it wasn't uncommon for me to be on my laptop until midnight sorting out leads for the next day. And she just said, "You're going to burn out if you're not careful." And I think it would be really, really good if you had someone that you could share these things with.
But
Um,
she's really into it as well, isn't she? And that's the key thing with this is like, all the stuff that you said originally you thought was like woo woo and hippie and all that stuff.
yeah,
She's really into it, the mindset stuff, which is why
yeah,
she like
yeah.
was kind of like dragging you along to this event, as it were.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, she's a Reiki practitioner. She's into holistic therapy, so she's a big one on anything spiritual. And I don't think I even really understood what spiritual was at the time. So for me, it was just all woo woo and kind of nod in the right places because I wanted to support her. But yeah, it was kind of when she said, "Let's do it." I thought, okay, it's all aligned. I think I need to do it, which is when I reached out and sent you a message.
Mm. And what were your expectations? Because as you said, you didn't even really know that I had this coach program because it was literally like new. I think you're the third or fourth person that I'd run through it, so it literally was
Mm,
almost brand new, which is why I hadn't advertised it yet.
yeah,
So we had this conversation, and you've only ever seen me talk.
yeah.
You didn't really know anything else about me. I then jump on this call with you, explain how the program works. What were your expectations?
Um, Without getting too deep, that you were going to fix me. I kind of felt that I was broken and my life was broken, and I kind of wanted someone to say something to me that was going to make it all better. It was completely unrealistic. I don't think I came into it with a this is what this is going to. I didn't even have a clue what the course was going to involve. I'm not even sure we discussed the content of it before I agreed to sign up. For me, I just kind of knew that I bought into you as an individual, and a lot of the things that you'd said made a lot of sense, and therefore, for me, it was worth taking that risk because I needed help. I didn't know what help I needed. I didn't know. I could at the beginning, if you'd have gone, "What are we going to discuss, and what is going to be the thing that at the end of this you're going to say is the one most important thing that's really helped you?" I wouldn't have had a clue.
Mm.
Um, but I knew I needed help. I just didn't know where I needed that help. So it was kind of a bit of a calculated risk on my part to go, "I think Dan's going to be able to help me," um, and you did.
The thing with this is, like I said, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor. I think I said this
Mm,
from day one with you when we were on that call. I'm a coach.
yeah,
And for me, it's a very strategic. I think this is kind of what I sold you on is that I didn't tell you how we are going to do it. I just told
mm,
you this is the end result.
yeah,
And I think I kind of broke down like what the module things were. Like we're going to find out where you need to go, what's holding you back. And I kind of broke it down like that. But I didn't
yeah,
go into detail about it because you don't need to know details. All we need to know is, listen, mate, do this. It's a
yeah,
structured routine thing. Like get into this. All you got to do is just show up, do the work. And I think I said it to you. As long as you
yeah,
put the effort in, and this is what I say to anybody, like I can't save you, and I've said this to you from day one. I've done nothing here apart from give you information.
mm,
I've said this to you multiple times. Like you have gone and done the work, and as you alluded to earlier on, you took the time to do the work because
mm,
you already knew all of the answers. You just didn't know how to access it and
yeah,
kind of get it out from yourself.
yeah,
So, what would you say have been some of the significant moments or breakthroughs that you've experienced? Because again, there's been a lot. Like I said, we've worked
yeah.
together over a long period of time. So, off the top of your head, is there any specific moments or breakthroughs that you've experienced during this program that have made a massive impact on you?
I think for me, and we obviously we touch base every Friday. Um, for me, one of the biggest realization is around thoughts and what thoughts are and where they come from. Because I think I'd spent so long, something would go wrong. I would then start to think about all the permutations of all the things that could happen, and I thought about them so deeply and for so long and so intently that those thoughts become in my head a reality,
Mm.
and I would catastrophize them, and that would send me into a downward spiral, and that downward spiral would end up with me, making poor life choices because of the headspace that I was in. Whereas now I'm able to, and we laugh about it all the time, is I still get the thoughts. I get the thoughts frequently, but I'm now in a place where I can go, okay, so it's a thought. Out of what out of that thought is a fact, and what is it? Am I just conjuring up in my head? And if I am conjuring up in my head, where is that coming from? And a lot of it's coming from, as we say, paradigms, without getting into the detail, but things that have been instilled in me for so long that in my head I believe they are truths when there's no truth behind them whatsoever. And I'm seeing this thought through a lens. So the thought is something made up, and I'm looking at it through a lens that I have made up, and I'm just creating this horrific picture of all the possibilities of things that can happen. That
Mm.
when you stop and you pause and you go, well, none of that's actually happened. So let's think about the things, what has happened and what's in my control. What are the bits that I can do something about? Right, let's now focus on those. And life becomes a lot easier when you see through all that mess and just focusing on the bits that are real and that you have control over. So that's kind of been life changing for me. Um,
Because with that as well,
I
you
think the
also said
whole
it from. So when we started, you kept saying you were a thinker. And then
yeah,
we kind of realized it wasn't necessarily a thinker, you were a ruminator, and you'd be
yeah,
sat there making the problem worse and worse and worse.
yeah,
Whereas now you have the ability to actually think, like you, whatever this thing is, again, something that would, again, to use your words, like would take you maybe a day or two to fester, you'd literally fester on it.
yeah,
Within an hour or so, you've got to the bottom of it, and then you've taken action on it. So now you're actually thinking rather than just having this sort of mental activity of almost like torturing yourself.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think the other one um, is around paradigms and these beliefs that you have about yourself. And you're really good. You pick me up on it all the time because even now at the end of the program, I will still say certain things that you'll go, yeah, but that's not actually the case, is it, Andy? And one of the biggest ones, right the way through the work that we've done, I've always said that I lacked confidence. Um, and you kind of stopped, you sat me down one day and, well, let's get into that. It's because you run a business that's done really, really successful. You've looked after, X number of staff, you look after X number of clients, your family, you've got 5 kids, and up until very recently, you've had your shit together. So what exactly is it that you think you're not confident in? And it was only then that you actually start to get into it and start to really, really think. And part of the work was going back and saying, well, where do you think this is? Where has it come from? What has built that belief? And without getting into it in too much detail, for me, I had quite a prominent figure in my life for a number of years who was a narcissist and had an interest in making me think and believe certain things in a certain way because it benefited them. And a lot of the misconceptions and beliefs and paradigms that I had stored up, I can track back to that person. And it's only once you start to, uncover that and get into it that you can start to see how your thinking has been quite heavily affected by things that are completely untrue or made up or just created in your head. So
Mm.
that was another wow moment, where you start to see things very differently to how you have for years and years.
Because those are the biggest things, isn't it? It's that awareness that we speak about all the time is that all we've done is just gain awareness of where these things have come from. And then
Mm,
it gives you a choice. Because a lot of
yep,
time, these paradigms, these programs that we talk about, they run on such autopilot that we're not aware of how much control they have over us. But once you understand and you gain awareness,
yep,
you can then do something about it. And I
yep,
think one of the comments you made, I think exactly what I said to you was like, you take such a small thing of, I lack confidence. It was
mm,
such a small thing you lacked confidence in. And you basically put this massive brush over it and kind of like tarnish the whole thing of, I have no confidence. It was a massive blanket statement. When
yep,
we broke it down, it actually was just, there's just one thing that you lack confidence in. And then we figured
mm,
out why it was. And then you kind of regained your confidence again. So it's just
yep.
really interesting how we kind of had this like blanket statement. I was just taking a second. I was thinking, I don't think this is true, Andy. I was like, let's
Yeah,
just kind of break this down a little bit, mate.
yeah, 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 absolutely. I 100% agree.
So let's then take it a step further
Mm,
because obviously the coaching program, we talk about a lot of like tools, techniques, and stuff like that. what are some tools, techniques, or insights other than the two things you just sort of mentioned that
Mm,
you kind of apply in your daily life?
mm. So yeah, so I'm a big one for this. I love a process, and I love breaking it down so it's really really simple. Um, for me, one of the biggest things that I have my daily rituals now that I do, and those daily rituals are things that I think really really help me. So one of the biggest ones, and I never thought I'd say this because for me it was it's just not what I could have ever saw myself doing. But I'm now a prolific journal writer. I write every single morning. I write every single evening, and for me, it's so important to be able to get down what's going on in my head. Um, you know, what's what's been bugging me for the day, what are the things that have been stuck in my head, and it's my opportunity to then get out on paper what I'm thinking. And quite often when I journal, I can correct the misleading thought pattern that I have because I'll write down to, today I'm feeling, and it might be I'm feeling crap because of this reason, but I then write out what's going on in my head, which is, but this is ridiculous because when I actually break it down, this is what's actually happened, and this is what I can control, and the rest of it I can't control. So this is the bit, and by the end of writing the journal, I've kind of fixed whatever that was that was misfiring in my head. Um,
It's almost like
and
self coaching in a way, isn't it? The way that
yeah,
I've kind of taught it for you is you kind of coaching yourself.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the dreaded, and I rolled my eyes when you asked me to do it, but the part of the journaling is gratitude, because I think it's very very easy to get caught up in, I'm lacking this and I'm lacking that, whereas I'm now forced every morning I write down I write as if I'm in 5 years down the line, the things that I'm thankful for, which just refocuses me in on my goals and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it for. And then in the evening, I write down, what I've been grateful for, the things that have happened to me through the day. And that one's really, really good because that is finding, the gratitude in the little things that we normally overlook, which are actually really, really big things. Mine are quite heavily are focused around the kids and things that have happened with the kids. But where I'm more present and more aware these days, I pick those up a lot more. And I think I look back and go, what did I miss when I was so absorbed with work? So journaling is a big, big one for me. Um, I've got a constant focus on. Um, so we did a piece of work on core values, which for
Mm,
me has been really, really big. What, and the core values are, what are my values as a person, not other people's, not what I think other people want me to be like. How do I want to live my life? Um, and for me, it was very simple. It was looking back and going, at the end of my days, if I look back, if I've achieved these things, and I've lived my life by these things, and I'm going to be happy. And mine center around, consistency and commitment and determination and family, and inner peace.
mhm,
I want to be able to, at the end of anything I do, look back and go, it may not have been a very easy decision to make. I may not have
mhm,
pleased everyone when I made that decision, but guess what? I know from I'm at peace with the decision that I made that I done it for the right reasons.
mhm,
Um, so I live my life by those core values now, and that's really helped me with things like going to the gym. I was never ever consistent, but consistency is one of my core values now. I live my life by it. So when I wake up in the morning and I don't want to go to the gym, which invariably happens 4 or 5 times a week,
mhm.
I start in my head going, but it's your core value. And how are you going to feel if you don't do it? And I know if I don't do it, I'm just going to hate myself because I haven't lived my life on the basis of the person that I want to be. And that's just a real good mental check in for me on most things.
So
You know,
asking
work.
yourself, isn't it? Like we've sort of figured out now. Again, without giving too much away here, it's like we've kind of figured out what is it you want your life to look like.
Yeah,
Why do you want it to look that way? And who do you need to be? And what kind of filter do you need to get that? And that's why it's so important with you in so many different ways. And one of the biggest things for you that we've discussed as well is that family is now such a big thing for you. Whereas everything you did before was like it was for my family, but actually it was affecting your
mm,
family. So now we've got an
yeah,
opportunity to almost redo it like your
Yeah.
priorities are in order. Because I think there's a lot of people out there that are doing certain things and they're working hard, earning the money, and they think they're doing it for the family, which they are, but they don't take a step back to realize that the family is so important to them that they're not actually spending the quality time being present and
Yeah.
actually appreciating their family when it's there, because the time is so sparse because they're spending it doing on all this. So they think they're doing it for the right reasons, but kind of and sort of where you're at in your life is almost like the perfect time for you to just sort of take a step back and be like, wait, well what is it that I actually really do value here?
Yeah. Yeah. And kids are a great leveler, aren't they? Because you can, I spent my life, as you say, I'd convinced myself that I was working all these hours and I was letting myself get as stressed as what I was because I was providing for my family. It's only once that disappears and you have half of what you used to have that you really start to understand. The kids say to me now when we talk about it on a regular basis that I am a better role model to them now than I've ever been. I can't take them I can't give them the money every week that I used to. I can't deck them out in designer clothes. Guess what? They don't care. They never wanted it anyway. They wanted me present, and they wanted to be able to sit down and have a decent conversation with me. And my relationship, especially with the older kids, is 100 times better than it's ever been. Because I'm there, I'm present. I genuinely interested, and you see it from a completely different perspective. So we say this all the time. What happened to me was the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my life, but I can genuinely sit here now and say it was the best thing that's ever happened to me because I don't think I would have ever committed what I have committed over the last 6 7 months and taken it as seriously as what I did and wanted to change and implement the things that I've learned unless I'd hit rock bottom. I
Mm,
kind of feel I needed to hit rock bottom to put me in that place where I genuinely wanted to take this on board. And as a family, we're so happy, so much happier than what we were when we had it all,
mm,
or what we perceived, or what I perceived was all and what was important. Which is yeah, it's really interesting sitting back now and looking at it.
mm. I know we sort of like touched on it a little bit there, but how would you say that your life has changed since doing the Ascend program, like personally and professionally? I know we've kind of touched on a few bits there, but how would you say it's actually changed?
Um, I think I'm a more rounded, happy, present individual now. Um, I think I can. Uh, for me, I don't get caught up in the ifs, buts, and maybes. It's all about the now. It's about controlling the things that we can control as a family. It's about enjoying the things that we can enjoy as a family, and it's not looking into the future and going, "Oh, I wish I had that." That kind of doesn't interest me anymore. Just I'm just in such a better place. It's hard to verbalize the difference, and I think for me the telling bit is I still are in contact with people that I've worked with for the last 15, 16, 17 years. And this is, people may listen to this, people don't know that I'm working with you because I keep it very
Hmm.
private. Um, but they pick up a lot. The number of people that have said to me, you've changed, but we can't put our finger on why you've changed. You look happier. You look the most chilled out you've looked in years. Um, I just feel better,
Hmm.
feel more
I,
in
th-
control of my life. And,
I think
and that's ironic because I'm probably the least in control of my life I've ever been from a financial aspect and from a business perspective, but I'm in control.
we've spoken about this a lot, haven't we? Because there's, like I said, with you starting again, basically starting your own business, going through this program as well, which we haven't touched on, you're basically starting a business from scratch. There's been so many challenges and situations that come with that naturally as they would. But I feel like you now have this clarity and calmness about you and the self confidence to
Mm,
understand that no matter what life throws at you, what you're now focusing on is the controllables rather than the uncontrollables. Where I feel as in the past, we sort of spoke about this, you were so focused on the uncontrollables that kind of then gave you that illusion that you couldn't control anything. But now
mm,
what we're doing is it's like, this is what it is. It is
mm.
what it is. It's the same, again, I say it all the time, we say it all the time. It is what it is. What can I control in this? And I feel like if we then take a look back at, again, how your business is growing and developing, there's still so much stuff that you can't control,
Mm.
but you're so calm because you're just focusing on the things that you can control and just showing up as this version of you. And again, essentially just doing the work that you know you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely. And we, every Friday, our conversations start in the same way, which is, how's your week been? And I go, well, I've had a wobble this week, had a wobble because of this or a wobble because of that. Um, but the wobbles last for 10 or 15 minutes now because I'm equipped with the tools. You're never going to stop the thoughts coming into your head. I think
Yeah.
that's the bit that I'm completely at peace with now. And I can sometimes, and again, we talk about it frequently, you can stop and almost chuckle to yourself that once you've got that little spasm out of your head, you've had that thought, you didn't control it for the 20, 25 minutes, you catastrophized it, you've gone on this little journey, and then you stop and you go, I'm being an idiot. Look at what I've done. I've taken myself there, and it's based on absolutely no fact whatsoever. So let's get back to what is the facts? What are the bits I can't control? What are the bits I can control? Right, let's focus on the bits that you can control.
Mm.
Um, and I think, I've got 3 pages. Hopefully, at some point, you'll say I'm the best student you've ever had. But I've got, I write everything you give me. I write down. I've got 3 pages of books, and I highlight all the quotes. But I think one of the things that you said to me is that the quality of your life is dependent on the quality of the questions that you ask yourself, and that's something that I constantly try and remind myself now that when something happens like that, well, what are the bits that we can control? Right. Well, what can you do about it? Actually, you don't think you can do anything, but are there any other options? And you keep on asking those questions, and invariably you will find there's nothing you can't find a solution to if you look deep enough and hard enough and you're focused enough to do it. But you just got to keep on changing the question, keep on changing it, and keep on changing it, and invariably you will get to where you need to get to.
Mm.
Um, but focus on the bits that you can control.
Just keeping your power within yourself isn't like, again, I think that's one of the biggest things we spoke about with you as well, is that you're giving so much of your power away to outside people, situations, and circumstances. And essentially, what we've done here is just give you that power back, which is then where that
Yeah.
confidence is coming from because you are now in control. So, again, I talk
Mm.
about the coaching program, the same coaching program is all about giving people clarity, confidence, and control of their thoughts and then ultimately their life, which is kind of the place that you're at now. A
Yeah.
bit of a curveball question here, but has there been any surprising or unexpected benefits from going through the Ascend coaching program?
Uh, yeah, I guess that has. I think one of the things I've always been consistent with right the way through is that when everything was falling apart, the one thing that I felt was always going really, really well was my relationship with Laura. Got really, really strong. We talk about everything. We'll share everything. There are no secrets. She knows my deepest, darkest secrets. She knows I up until the last 6 months, I have I call it the fuck it button. When things
Mm.
get so bad for me, I hit that and I go into complete self-destruct mode. That I've done that throughout my life, and that can be me going missing for 2 or 3 days because everything has become such a big thing in my head that I can't see a way out and I need to take myself away from it. Um, but some of the work that we've been doing together as made us have conversations that we've never had in the past. One of the most recent ones, and I told you about, was that you told me to do was it was a check in on a monthly basis. And I remember sitting down with her and going, right, I'm going to test you, but what are the things? What can I be doing more of? What do I need to be doing less of? Is there one thing that you would change about me? Questions I've never ever asked her before, and
I think the question is, it was what we changed about the relationship, not you specifically. I think it's the relationship,
yeah,
wasn't it? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And some of the things that she said, men, we don't see things, do we? We think unless it's hit us square between the eyes. And she said a few things of some of the things that I've been doing that upset her, but she would have never have told me that. And it was really, really interesting to go that, again, we thought, I thought we had this perfect relationship. Unsurprisingly, there are things that we can improve. So, I signed up when I signed up to this program. It was everything was based on, I guess, from a business, getting me back on my feet personally, which was going to help me with the business, which was going to give me the confidence and the strength to go again and build something again. Um, but I guess the curveball is the improvements in the relationship with those that are nearest and dearest to me, Laura and the kids. So that's probably the biggest curveball because I didn't think that would ever come into the work that we were doing.
I think I can remember the session when you came and sat down, and you told me about one of the kids had said something to you, and I think you kind of alluded to it earlier on, and just like the look on your face as you were telling me, like you were absolutely buzzing, and it's
Mm,
just like it was that realization of like, wow, like I didn't even know that I missed this, like, and I wanted it so much, and
mm,
then you kind of when once it was there, you were like, this is amazing, and then it kind
yeah,
of showed the growth you'd been on, and then it also then highlighting the headspace that you were in before and that work mode, that hustle thing of I miss this,
yeah,
and then it's just that puts things, as you said before, puts things back into perspective again for you.
hugely.
So, what advice would you give to somebody who is considering joining this Ascend coaching program? So, let's take yourself back to kind of when you were just heard me talk. Let's
Mm.
say you could go back in time. What would you say to yourself, or what would you say to someone now that's maybe thinking, "Yeah, it sounds good. I'm not sure if it's for me or not." What advice would you give them?
Um, One, do it. For me, it's been life changing. I think the caveat that I would put on that is the success is going to be wholly dependent on you. You know, I am or I have been a ferocious reader in the past. We have conversations on a regular basis around the self help books that are out there, and it became a common theme of the times that we were talking. Like, oh yeah, I've read something around this principle. This sounds very similar to this. You can be given all the information in the world, but it's up to you to go and implement it, really understand it, believing it, and then live by it. It's a lot of the work that you do. It's not easy. There are questions that you have to ask yourself, questions that you have to ask these other thought processes that you need to go through that you've never thought of before, and that isn't easy. For me, I think it was a lot easier because I'd hit rock bottom. So there was only one way for me to go,
Hmm.
um, but you're only going to get out of it what you put in. So you need to be 100% committed to committing to the cause. And if you do that, you will almost instantly see results. I
Hmm.
started seeing results from week one, week two, because and it's work in progress now. It's going to be forever work in progress, but you can feel the benefits of it almost immediately.
Hmm.
So if you're prepared to put in the work and you're prepared to commit to it, do it,
Hmm.
because for me it's changed my life. I can't, we say it's a real cheesy thing, but I think anyone in the family will back that up, that I am a completely different person now to where I was 8, 9 months ago. Even a couple of years ago, the extreme was when everything kicked off 8, 9 months ago. But I'm such a happier, more rounded individual. My One of the biggest compliments I can get is when your kids come and ask you for advice, because they don't listen to parents. But I now have some of the kids, they'll come and ask me what I think, which for me just shows that even they can see the difference in me.
I love that. And one of the big things that I like to remind people is that if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Mm,
And no one's coming in on a white horse to save you. As I said, I've said this to you multiple times. At the very start, you said you expected me to come and save you. I've done
mm,
nothing. And again, I understand the part I've played in this, but you've done the work. Like you have saved yourself
mm,
because you had all the answers and you had to do the work. And for me, as a coach, I can only step on that 50% line. I can't go any further than that. You have
yeah,
to meet me at least halfway and do the work and keep your part of it, and
yeah.
then you'll get the results. But you can't just stand there and just do 20% and
No,
expect a coach, mentor, anything like that to do the rest. It doesn't work that way.
no
So I
one's
love that
no
you've
one's
said that.
coming to save you. I think
No.
we've spoken about it so many times. No one is going to come and save you. That's down to you.
Mm. Any final thoughts? Anything else you want to touch on that we've discussed around about that? Because again, for me, it's obviously I've sort of guided this conversation, but I didn't know if there's anything, because obviously you knew we were having this conversation, obviously. I did. If there's anything else that you kind of want to say, anything you want to touch on at all before we wrap it up?
No, no. Like I say, I think um, it's been it's been life changing for me in the way that it now helps me see certain things and understand. For me, the single biggest thing is around thoughts. I think everyone will resonate with that. That you have a thought and it sticks in your head, and you start to think of all the permutations of all the things that can happen, and where that's going to go, and what could happen then, and what will they say, and what will that mean, and you'll end up losing your house, and where are the kids going to live, and but having the ability to stop and realize that that is just a thought, and 90% of it is coming from up here and how you're thinking, and how you're analyzing that and the lens that you're seeing through it, and having the ability to reel yourself back in and deal with the facts, the outcome that you get to may never change, but I can guarantee you that you will feel a damn sight better going through the process when you're in control of it. And I think for me, that's been the one of the biggest things that's come out of this for me.
No, honestly, it's been amazing. Like I said, it's been fantastic working with you. And I said, I know this is a continual thing, but for me, like I said, the results you've got are amazing, which is why I wanted you to come on here to sort of share the results with people. And again, if you're a listener of this and you want to apply to be part of the Ascend coaching program, you can find the link in the show notes below. But Andy, I just want to say once again, thank you very much for your time today. Thank you very much for, again, adding your words of wisdom that you've learned to the audience. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.